Good evening, free enterprise fans. Thank you for joining us for the final race of week 3 of the Lali-Ho League between Mechalink and SuperNinTaylor. Two fantastic 1-1 racers battling to get to that 2-1 mark. My name is Possum Morpheus and I am joined by Solaris in the booth tonight. How are you doing, Solaris?
Hello. Hi, Possum. I'm doing great. They let me out of the restream dungeon for a moment, come outside, get some fresh air, enjoy another good race. I'm doing great.
Well, I am very happy to hear that. I am excited to see what look to be some magically disappearing objectives. Oh, and they're coming back now. But really, that defeat Leviathan and defeat Antlion, objectives 4 and 5 on our screen, those are potentially really rude. I know whenever I'm running these seeds, I always seem to find Antlion somewhere up on the moon just waiting to repeatedly punch my party. That's always a scary proposition. So what are your feelings on those objectives there for objective 4 and 5?
Well, it's interesting, first of all, because there's no character that we're looking for, so that might change a little bit of routing, like not needing to check the Sand Ruby character. The bosses themselves really completely depends upon where they show up. Antlion in particular can be very nasty at the wrong spot with a high attack power, but it's really going to come down to, of course, where they show up.
Absolutely. And speaking of things showing up, I see a Sid on the front screen here. Sid is my favorite starter character on these flags. Just gets the party started really fast. Can use that dwarf axe that comes in the dwarven starter kit along with the strength ring. What's your thoughts on a Sid start or any other characters you're looking for right away, Solaris?
I do love Sid and Kane immediately because they can use a Dwarven Axe. A Dwarven Axe does surprising damage when you start out, and with that strength ring and the levels on Sid, really makes any pairing character with the Sid not really too much of a problem. You can take on a lot of the early checks, really just with that Dwarven Axe.
Yeah, absolutely. Those early checks like the Antlion Cave, should our runners choose not to fade it, Mount Hobbs, Fabul Defense, those early checks, a Dwarf Axe Sid will just single-handedly roll right through. So I definitely agree with you on that point. As far as other characters who we'd like to see, I know you had talked about a Kane and whatnot. Are you looking for black mages, white mages, other melee fighters? Who do you like to complement a Sid start here?
I'm always happy with mages. On this flag set, particularly with the Dwarven starting kit, those rune rings can power up a Palom really quickly. Even Iridia, who I know a lot of people like to keep her on the floor. And if you don't find a good summon for her, that often ends up being her best place to be. But a Sylph early with that rune ring does surprisingly good damage, can carry your early game pretty easily. The other, I think, starters I'm happy with, Cecil, of course, and it looks like we're about to start out here.
Yeah, Cecil for me, even though his early damage is poor at best, has access to the best endgame weapons. Speaking of good endgame weapons, there's a Dragoon Spear starting out, some Calbrana dolls.
I want my cane immediately.
I would also say yes, a cane immediately would be very nice here. But as you had mentioned about getting that Palom going right away, there is a Quack Kid. This, to me, is the strongest starting team on these flags because you get your access to your very strong Black Mage early and you're right out of the gate best physical fighter. So I think for our runners, they're going to be very happy to see this start.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So given this start, Possum, what does that do for your routing? Where do you like to go with this team right away?
I actually go straight to Hobbs with this team, and I take the battle there. I do no looting. I just go straight for objectives, straight for checks at that point, and I will figure out what I need for gear later, because for those first couple of checks, you can get through with absolutely nothing else added but what you start with. So I want to find out who that third character is, and maybe pick up like a magma key and then just loot the underground instead.
Yeah,
It
it makes a
looks
lot
like
of sense.
Yeah, it looks like our runners are choosing to do some overworld looting. Damsian Castle for SuperNinTaylor, and Mechalink choosing to loot in Baron. So, definitely some very common loot locations for our runners. Um, just something with this strong a start, something I personally might choose not to do.
Yeah, and I don't blame it. We also see back of Waterfall pretty often. Ooh, a power shirt for Mechalink there. That's a nice pickup. Um, Also, we saw Mechalink go to Baron immediately. So we saw a Porum, I know your favorite character of all time, and a CPU at the Baron Inn.
Yeah, the Porum, as much as I may or may not like a Porum, it is a Berserk bot, and that can be important for a team. Any team that has a melee fighter, when you have a power shirt, which our runners have found, and any decent weaponry, Berserk is incredibly strong. Berserk and Blink are probably the two strongest spells in the game, not named Nuke. So that's a positive case for a Porum, and this is coming from me.
Yeah, and actually, chat pointing out also with the Palamin party, that also enables Twin, which is pretty powerful early on.
Yeah, Twin incredibly powerful. Fades out fairly quickly, basically as soon as Palom learns Virus, kind of goes away. Party members that are not particularly strong, though, there's an Edward, has the ability to pick up a spoon, possibly at some point through the seed, if our runners find that spoon, and turn into just the ultimate cutlery wielding menace towards all bosses. But early on, this Edward, not exactly the bee's knees.
No, but finding an Evil Wall here, I'm pretty happy with. Evil Wall can be pretty nasty at certain locations, but at this spot, I don't think with that Dwarven Axe, this isn't really going to be any trouble. And also finding Bahamut at the, taking a shower at the waterfall. That's one I'm kind of sad to see there, but yeah, gonna get this Eddie going and then see where they go from here.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of a balancing thing that, you find a rude boss at a relatively early location like this Evil Wall, and then find a free boss in the Bahamut in the Waterfall Cave. So kind of a little balancing act there. Nice balanced rolled seed from Gundam Pilot Spaz this evening for us.
That wall really wants Edward to be an anchor. Just a beautiful sniper.
I mean, the wall knows best.
Of course, like you said, though, if we find a spoon, that Edward is immediately going to become a powerhouse, especially with the power shirt that we found.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about Eddie is while he can't equip a ton of great gear, he is able to equip a power shirt, a bandana, a black belt, and an assortment of rings. Crystal rings, protect rings, even rune rings. So Edward can have a decent amount of defense and a rather high amount of power output with the right equipment. So yeah, an early spoon would go a long way towards an endgame Eddie even.
Yeah, definitely. Meanwhile, we see SuperNinTaylor here going into the Antlion Cave. We'll see we'll see what boss shows up here. Could be one of our objectives. Could even be vanilla. That would be pretty funny. Not gonna lie.
And back-to-back ninja shirts as well. That is huge money for SuperNinTaylor. So this little bit of looting in Antlion Cave going to pay off big time with those two tier 5 ninja shirts. That's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25,000 gold. That's going to fund quite a bit of the early adventure.
Absolutely, especially in this flag set where we have S quarter, so money is a bit hard to come by, and with the S standard enabled, we're looking for sirens, we're looking for this is rude. This is the alt gauntlet. We'll be here a while, folks. Thankfully, we've got a Palom with some spells, though I think MP might become an issue. Yeah, what do you think about this fight, Possum?
This is one of my least favorite gauntlets simply because you don't have access to virus generally at this point, which means that even if you can get the first turn with Palom, his spell is not going to go off before the enemies get their actions, which means every fight just takes time. And this is a speed run. We're trying to get through as quickly as possible. The gauntlet here is just annoying for that reason. You have to go through so many extra animations. It stinks from a time perspective. Our runners, they'll get through it though.
Yeah, the one saving grace here, I think, is that both of them, it's pretty unlikely to fade Outline. Of course, we make a meme out of fading Outline, and it often does make sense, but I think on this flag set in particular, you're looking for so many things that it's very easy to go near 17 out of 17. So you really don't see a lot of people fading Outline. So you know that your opponent's probably doing it. As we can see, they're both kind of struggling with the same encounter that's not really going to challenge them. Like they're going to get through it, but yeah, it's just going to take some time.
Yeah, I gotta say I love being able to see the tornado cast from the Sandworm. Not something you get to see every day, so always a hype moment there.
I know, right? I found out somewhat recently, actually, the alt gauntlet at the Mist Cave, the easiest boss location in the game. Actually, there's, I forget which enemy it is, but there's something that actually steals MP. And I've had one of those things steal my Palam's MP. Very rude. Shockingly rude.
I think in the waterfall there's something like that as well, like a tiny mage or something. Like lots of really annoying enemies that I wish would just go away. And there's the magma key. So that's one of the things that we were talking about a little bit earlier, where the overworld looting that happened, instead of just charging into these checks, may end up as duplicate looting. Now, one of the really nice things, though, about this early magma key, though, is our runners will be able to fade Fabul until they have the Sheila 1 check set up. So that is a big benefit to them, where they will both be able to do a single dip into Fabul on the front end and maybe cut down their visits to just a second trip to Fabul and a second trip to the Sylph Cave instead of a triple dip.
Yep, so it looks like SuperNinTaylor may not be thinking about that. I've definitely done this myself, found a magma key, and then gone straight to Fabul, because that's just the natural routing. It's the next easy location that you could go to. Not really thinking about that magma key, which be a little unfortunate. Might need to double or even triple dip. But we see Thor Rages and cabins available at the shop here. That's pretty nice to find. The other thing about finding a magma key early, of course, it's a big like, oh, sigh of relief. You don't have to deal with a nasty hook route, but it also puts the hook in the back of my mind. Like, where is that hook? Because the hook does get both the rat tail and the pink tail, so it could easily become like you're looking for that one key item to get through the seed. Oh, and there's another objective. There's our antlion found here invading Fabul.
Antlion didn't go far today. Normally likes the view from the moon, but Antlion decided to just head next door, basically. Not going to be a challenging fight whatsoever. SuperNinTaylor does look like they are trying to keep that Edward alive, get the XP on him. So it looks like they are committed to getting Edward to be the best boy for now and for later.
I think I'm okay with this, since Sid kind of is a natural anchor for you when you start with the Dwarven Axe anyways. And I'm likely as a runner to get rid of Edward if I don't find a spoon for him eventually anyways. So I don't hate keeping him up like that. But we'll see what item we find here. The other overworld checks available are Ordeals and the Baron Inn. We find an Avenger. That's pretty nice. I really want that Kane now. Where is my best betrayal boy?
Yeah.
Give him to me.
Kane or Cecil. If either one would like to show up, there's a shiny sword waiting for y'all. And it goes burr, and you will go burr with it.
So all mage seed incoming?
I mean, that's normally how it goes. Also, Dark Imps at the first spot in Dwarf Castle. That is a punchy location, and the attack power does not get split. So that's going to be 3 full-powered attacks. That's going to be really nasty. So good information for Mechalink, but very little to no chance they're going to bother with that check yet.
Yeah, no blame for resetting out of that. That is definitely one of those free bosses, but it's in quotes. It's like free with conditions. See fine print for details.
Yeah, the fine print is that it ends up punching you in the face until you die, and that's not good fine print.
Fine
That's a
print
nice
will punch
rune
to
axe,
death.
though. Yeah, fine print will punch to death. I like it. I mean, it's not actually something we should like, but a rune axe for Mechalink, that is a huge pickup. Something to exploit the weaknesses for Asura, Baron guards, and such like that. And also a pan pickup from the Feymarch chest. So good routing to pick that pan up before going into Sylph also means that Mechalink is going to be able to single dip Fabul. Only one visit to the castle, period.
Oh, that always feels good. You get that out of the back of your mind. You're no longer, deciding how long do I keep that Sheila check off the table. Though, of course, with the magma so early, you'd go there. If you didn't find this pan, you'd still go there pretty early. But yeah, it's nice to just not have to deal with that at all. Take it out of your mind. You just get it done immediately. And oh, that Val. That's a pretty rude Val. Actually, and the Mom Bomb too. What do you think of those two bosses in that location?
Those are things to deal with never.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that's not something that you want to deal with unless they gate your darkness crystal, maybe, or if go mode is on the overworld and underworld, maybe they have a pass. Otherwise, those are probably last locations for me. I personally wouldn't want to bother. Looks like SuperNinTaylor has found some goodies in Baron Inn, though. I believe it was CPU into King Queen Eblin, so a nice free fight at that second spot, which can be pretty rude early on.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing this here. Of course, the King and Queen, I always want them to show up on the moon somewhere because they're almost always free wherever they show up. But yeah, the spot can be pretty punchy. So pretty okay to see it here. And I see SuperNinTaylor taking the choice to knock out the King and Queen instead of waiting out their script. I don't mind this at all because they can be quite slow at this location.
Yeah, it's a pretty heads up move actually to knock them out at this location. It just takes forever for the script to play out. And there's a package, so that could be any gated character. It could also be, something like a Cecil. It could be a Rosa. The package, there's a lot of good that can come from that. And that job dwarf was so fast, it was a municipal aid something.
Yeah, I saw civil, municipal, something.
It was a lot of words and not a lot of time. We appreciate Mechalink validating the seed, but that was too many words for us to catch in real time.
But yeah, that package, this is about the only time I'm happy to see that package when we're not looking for a specific character because it's not an objective. It's early enough that depending on the character, I'm taking a Kane, I'm taking a Cecil, I'll take a Rosa, Fusoya, I'll take. An Edge, I don't think we've seen any weapons for him, but there's a Cecil. There's a kind of a role reversal, right? Instead of the Dark Knight burning the town down, we are burning down the Dark Knight's town.
Hold on, now that's a mom bomb blowing up the town. Isn't that kind of a thing that happened in vanilla or something to that effect? Well, it was a bomb of some sort, right?
Maybe it was one of the Mom Bomb's children.
Okay, there it is. I will say though,
my headcanon now.
Getting the Cecil, this is a no-brainer on this flag set. Not only because SuperNinTaylor has the Avenger, but Cecil is just so unbelievably broken when he is not tethered to vanilla agility, to the point where I've heard a lot of people say that Cecil should be treated as a gated character when vanilla agility is off. That's how good he is in this flag set. So sitting through this package cutscene to get that Cecil, 100% agree with this play from SuperNinTaylor.
Yeah, same here. Even if you find literally nothing for Cecil, and we have an Avenger already, which is plenty, but even if we had nothing, with the Forge objective on the table and knowing that most of these flag sets go long, some of them can be jet, but I think overall they tend to go longer, which means you probably can end up forging at the very least. So you get an Excalibur for him for Z. So yeah, I don't blame taking the Cecil at all.
Yeah, and this also opens up the possibility of Leviathan being here. And
that would be
maybe,
hilarious.
yeah, maybe you get a required package boss. And that is just a flavor of Mylon, which is also a sign that you should go to Ordeals after this.
Fall flat into the deep bed ravine?
Fall flat off of the bed.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I mean, it does look like Mylon Z woke up on the wrong side of the bed, though. Let's be real.
He certainly did, because Mylon Z is, absolutely taken care of now.
Was flying, is now fallen.
He flew so far, fell so hard. And yes, for anyone that isn't aware, Mylon Z is actually floating. It's, I believe, a concession that the programmers made to give him immunity to earth spells like Quake, which you really shouldn't have, but you could technically on mono deals.
It would just take a lot of grinding.
And we see an old man in bed with Tella. Now, Tella's an interesting character. I actually love Tella quite a bit as a character, really, actually early and late. What do you think of him?
I actually think Tella is a perfectly viable character from start to finish. I oftentimes don't replace Tella unless I get a Fusoya, because Fu is just simply a better version. But there have been multiple seeds on this flag set where I've taken Tella to Zeromus, because he is a source of some black magic, he is a source of all the white magic you need. And when push comes to shove, his HP pool is fairly similar to someone like a Porum or Iridia anyway. So you don't gain a ton by taking one of those characters, which are limited in their scope, whereas Tella has much more flexibility, having access to both black and white magic. So I find Tella still to be quite good on these flags.
Yeah, that's fair. His hit point growth is really abysmal, but to your point, his hit point growth is such that, like Porum and Eddie, he's not going to survive a full Big Bang. So, well, get ready for some laughs. We found our favorite laughing magician here in Golbez.
Yeah, the awkward part about this is the magic at this spot is actually reasonably high. So everyone but Sid is going to die here to spells. So if this Sid has a Dwarf Axe on going into this fight, he's not going to have the agility to necessarily get a Star Veil off. And this could be very dangerous for our runners, just simply based on the HP pools of the characters that they have available to them. So this is definitely a surprisingly rude Golbez. And there's a dead Sid right off the bat. That's not what you want to see as SuperNinTaylor here.
Yeah, I think SuperNinTaylor is going to have to run buffer, Starveil, and Prey. And that might not even be good enough.
Yeah, needs to win a 50-50 here for sure. And even then, it's still going to be dicey. Meanwhile, Mechalink going through Baron Inn has found King Queen Evelyn, and also is burning them down instead of letting them script out. Landing a fire on the Queen, not the King though. And yeah, there's a lit 3 for 1380 on Cecil, and Golbez claims another set of victims.
Ouch. Yeah, finding Golbez there is about one of the only reasons why I still save when I run up here. I see some runners, they'll come up to Ordeals and not even take that first save, because most bosses found at that location are pretty trivial. It does not have very good stats besides the magic stat, and it's very slow.
Yeah, that spot is super slow. It has the worst physical attack in the game, but the magic is actually quite high. for an early game location, much like the back attack spot. Actually, the first two spots in Ordeals have pretty high magic. But yeah, Golbez is just really rude here. Heads up.
Oh, pardon me. I was going to say, we've got some piggies here. What's going on with that?
Yeah, I was going to say heads up on SuperNinTaylor's part by getting those pigs going. Final Fantasy IV has a status priority list that it effectively functions off of, where different things in the priority list, for example, Piggy, are above paralysis. So because some of SuperNinTaylor's party members are pigs, they cannot be paralyzed, which means as long as they survive, Golbez, please, as long as they survive, Golbez, please, as long as one of those pigs would have survived, they'd have been able to guarantee a Star Veil. Apologies, SuperNinTaylor, if you watch this back. Would have been able to guarantee a Star Veil and would have been reflecting those spells back at Golbez and eventually killing him. Now has to win a 50-50, which Golbez is just being an absolute jerk right now. This is a feels bad moment and a half for SuperNinTaylor.
Imagine this is a little too early for Porum to have access to size also.
Yeah, too early for size. I think Palom has Venom at this point, so you could use Venom strats as well. But outside of that, you're kind of at the mercy of Golbez just not being a jerk. And Golbez is being a jerk.
Yep. I think the other thing I would do is put Cecil or Edward in the middle. They should have a bit more agility than Sid has at this point. But with the 3 pigs, unless Golbez takes out all 3 of those pigs, which, sorry if that happens, he will be okay here.
Yeah, and chat brings up a good point as well. You could try to hide Edward here. Edward would not count towards the Shadow Dragon eating your party, basically removing party members. You would then be able to pop Edward back out, even as a pig, and then get a Star Veil off in time. So that is a very good point brought up by our very smart chat for something that could be done as well.
But 2 pigs have survived. Edward and Sid are going to carry this. Edward, I saw, queued a Star Veil, and we're going to be able to get through this encounter.
3rd time's a charm.
3rd time, every time.
Unless it's the Asura summon, in which case it pretty much never works, even when it should. And it looks like Mechalink is through the package fight, picking up their Cecil. And that Lit 3 being reflected back for almost 1,300 damage. There's only about 3,000 health at this spot as it is. Looks like SuperNinTaylor trying to get their mages up as well to get some XP. Some very meaningful XP for those mages. I believe this will get Virus on Palom. So that's a very important breakpoint for the kid. And the bonk of 28 damage finishes the fight.
I too question my life choices when I'm hit upside the head with a rod. Like, why? Why would you do this? Goodbye.
It kind of just reminds me of my cat just, bopping me on the side of the head. Normally it's for food or something like that, or to, just say, hey, I'm here, play with me, or whatever. And then just running away because cats are going to cat.
I too would run away if your cat booped me.
Oh boy, this Ordeals. If you want a Paladin Cecil, you're going to have to work for it today. That's Golbez into Ogopogo.
This is so gross. So Ogopogo is pretty rude at almost any location. And with these mages, you cannot single target him. Now, does Ogopogo counter the twin action here?
Ogopogo does not counter twin. However, if Ogopogo kills one of your twins, twin is not going to work. So naturally, the bosses are just being rude repeatedly.
I think every boss so far has said, you know what, you're trying to do that thing with that party member? No. Just, no. No.
Yeah, I think what the best course of action here would be is to just bluff up a bunch, like 3, maybe 4 times even, with that Palom, and then once about 1,500 damage is in, or maybe even now, go ahead and launch a Fire 2 or Lit 2. Probably I would go with Fire or Ice so as not to get a weak counter, but either way, this should finish the fight off.
Yeah, I don't mind the Lit. I like the thinking of it because, like, just weaking one of the party members instead of hitting an AoE Blaze, which would kill our 2 low party members here. Of course, if it hits Sid, that'd be pretty dangerous, and then Mecha finding the very good bad news. I don't know why I called it good. It's never good news. But Mechalink gets that hide off immediately, so this might be a much easier time for him.
Yeah, very heads up by Mecha in order to get that hide off. And there's a big hit from Sid for almost 1,000 damage with that Dwarf Axe. That must have been a crit.
Exactly what we were talking about, though. Early game with that Dwarf Axe, it does surprising damage.
Yeah, and there's also Virus on Palom, so that's a huge pickup as well.
Now, once Ordeals is done, where do you go from here?
I would look underground for Sirens, and I would find any way possible to get my Cecil some levels. Along with getting Quake on Palom. But beyond that, it's kind of whatever the runners feel like at that point. There's no tried and true method of where to go and what to do. Well, that is the Adamant, though, and we know that the Legend Sword is available, so Forge is on the table early. So that's going to be an Excal Cecil going burr a whole lot for our runners.
Yeah, with that Forge available, it really will make a great amount. Like, a lot of the seed is just free now. It's going to be about getting through the checks, getting through them efficiently, and efficient routing, especially since even with Forge, that's going to be one of our objectives. We've got Atline already taken care of. There's still a Pinktail to find. There's still Leviathan hiding out there somewhere, and there's still a Twin Harp. So we're not quite through the seed yet. It hasn't turned to Jet quite yet, but the actual difficulty has turned out to be not so much.
Yeah, having access to a Palom early on, a Sid early on, makes for a very nice early game. That Excal Cecil is going to carry the mid game and honestly also the late game. And then it's just a matter of, do you want to go the Bacchus route or do you want to invest in the Porum as far as your source of Berserk? So the character selection will be big going forward for our runners as well. How do they want to go about, going through, especially having that Avenger also for that Excalibur? Do you even need a source of Berserk at that point?
Pretty sure Cecil go Burr.
Yeah, any way to make Cecil go Burr is good in my book.
Sorry, I had more I had more deep thoughts there, and then I said, you know what? No, Cecil go Burr. That's really it.
Yeah, much like Tello was the all-star of Zemazone 3, with both Fusoya and Cecil back restored to their former glory, they are the 2 primary characters on everybody's radar again. So this just goes to show Cecil gets the biggest, shiniest, swords that anybody can get in this game. Spoon being the one exclusion to that. And Fusoya just has all of the magic that any white or black mage could want. So you get the best of both worlds with Fu, and then you get the best of the attacking world with Cecil with no drawbacks. So the vacation that they took for the last tournament, they are back in full force for this one.
Yeah, definitely. And meanwhile, while SuperNinTaylor is moving on to the next check, looks like he's finally going to go underground and Mechalink getting through that Ogopogo. I do want to shout out our restream team. We've got Esco in the background and doing the tracking, and GPS doing the restream. There is, of course, no show without them, and we're very grateful for them. And I'll also shout out Passamorpheus for being on comms with me.
And I would also say, of course, to give all of those fine folks a follow, Solaris included, and also give our runners a follow. If it weren't for them volunteering to be restreamed, you all wouldn't be able to see this fantastic race this evening. So make sure, especially to give the runners a follow, as they are the ones that truly make this happen for all of us.
You mean they're not here to listen to us talk about flying Mylan's head?
I mean, they might be, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it too. So we'll see where SuperNinTaylor chooses to go from here. I'm guessing either the Fey March or Dwarf Castle.
It's possible with that Avenger and the agility that it brings with it, the strength bonus, and just the overall raw power. SuperNinTaylor could take a crack at Dwarf Castle even. Avenger is just that good. Cecil being the vessel for it right now can really facilitate some crazy things early on. Dwarf Castle, though, if SuperNinTaylor were to take a crack at it, you would want that Cecil in the middle to take advantage of the agility bonus, because this first spot at Dwarf Castle is relatively slow, so Cecil would get many turns off before the enemies would.
I'm sorry, I need a 45-minute nap to process Cecil the Vessel. Goodbye. But just kidding. Anyways, I love this play. I mean, Dwarf Castle is a pretty good source of experience. Of course, we're not looking really for a character anymore, though this is a gated character spot, right? Like Fu could show up here. But it's kind of the next like point of progression, kind of power level wise.
Yeah, it's a good place to make that next check. But at the same time, the other question is, can you get through it? And is it worth leaving the freebies on the table? Knowing the power level of this spot in particular, these are super punchy, really rude imps. And is it going to be worth it, especially if there's a wipe here? And that's what this is looking like, because those dark imps are really rude.
Yeah, and especially knowing, of course, SuperNinTaylor doesn't know this, but with the pan at the Fey March, there is quite a bit of value waiting to be had here. Don't blame him at all for just kind of picking up and moving on. Now, if you really wanted to power through that, you could keep the Avenger off of Cecil and use him as a cover bot instead. That's certainly viable, though he has a lot of the damage. But then you've got Virus. If you find Sirens, you can quickly go get Quake on Palom and then come back and just Quake the imps to death. They're pretty susceptible to that, but yeah, we'll see where he chooses to go from here. Mechalink, headed now back to Dwarf Castle, knows that those imps are there, so is going to prepare properly for dealing with them. We'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, that Excal is going to do some work here. Again, though, the concern for me is just how hard these imps are going to hit. I don't know if Mecha found hourglasses, though, and if they did, that would be huge here.
Yeah, or even coffins would be pretty huge too. Just getting rid of one or two of the dark imps immediately so that the punches aren't so terrible to deal with. But given that Mecha saw these before, I expect that he has a plan here. Yeah, my one concern is that Cecil doesn't have levels on him particularly, so even with that Excalibur, not going to hit that hard. But yeah, I see the coffins in Mecha's inventory.
Yeah, the coffins are going to be a big
right deal. For them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. could even get some life glitches off. This would be very meaningful XP. If sirens have not been found yet, this would normally give about 20,000 experience. If you can get 2 life glitches, this is going to be, what, 33,000 roughly? That's a huge amount of XP early on.
Yep, definitely, though. Knocking down Palam's pretty annoying. Have to pick him up instead of getting that life glitch off. Really want that experience on him right now.
Yeah, I would say Quake is more important than getting another level or 2 on some of the Zerkers. Yeah, there's 28,000 experience. That's really good. There's Quake. And then 20 levels on Cecil.
It just occurred to me that Mechalink's naming scheme is they're planeswalkers for Magic the Gathering. Strong approve from here.
Yeah, I also approve of that as someone who had many Jace Bellerin handles years and years ago for various platforms. Yeah, I'm a big fan, and immediately there goes Jace. So it was fun while it lasted. But here's bonus round.
We see Mechalink immediately berserking Sid. Thankfully, the hit points are not very high here. I don't think D-Mist is even going to get a chance to go into Mist form.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Yang is going to miss out on the XP here. Yeah, there it is. Which is not the worst thing in the world. Yang is not going to be contributing meaningful damage for quite a while. So while it stinks to miss out on 20,000 XP, that can be easily rectified later in the game. Also, Ghost Hand from D-Mist is backhand.
Yes, I was just going to say that. This is my favorite by far. I love that we change the color of the hand based on who the boss is. It's little touches like that in this randomizer that are just make me so happy.
Yeah, chef's kiss, I believe is how the experts put it.
Yeah, but based on the boss spots palette. Oh, it's not intentional. I see. Well, you know, it's still one of those nice things. And hey, Pinktail picked up here. You got somewhere to be, GPS? We're just finding key item after key item.
Well, you did say earlier that if you were a runner, you'd be wondering where that hook was. And I bet you Mechalink right now is also wondering where that hook is.
Yep, definitely. Looming at the back of mind. Gotta put off that Pinktail, especially since with that Susslin party, I want that Pinktail immediately because it could be a Crystal Sword.
That's true. Crystal Sword, the only thing that makes Excal Avenger Cecil go burr even more is Crystal Sword Avenger Cecil. Now, if an edge is located, there's a Masamune. That's a pretty good pickup as well from the D-Mist check.
Rosa's mom a ninja in a previous life? Not Rosa, Rydia.
Possibly. I know nothing of the lore of this game, so I'm going to have to defer to you as the expert there.
Oh, well then. I am not the lore expert here either. We'll make up our own lore as we go along.
I like it. We'll just start having Magic the Gathering conversations and pretend that it's Final Fantasy IV.
Meanwhile, I think Mechalink has touched down at the Sylph Cave here. Not the Sylph Cave, the Sealed Cave. Caves. They're both caves.
They're all caves. They're all confusing. They're all underground. There's too many of them. I vote we remove the caves. All right, that vote's not going to pass. I tried.
Well, especially this cave. This is one that runners will often save until very last, just because of how long it takes to get through it. But I don't hate it. We have the Luca key. Something good could be here, and we're still looking for Leviathan, so I expect Mechalink will save here, check the key item, and not reset out if it's not anything, because we'll see if Leviathan happens to be here also. So it's 2 checks in 1.
Yeah, for sure. Now, my big question, and I haven't admittedly paid close enough attention to Mechalink's level on Palom here. Does Palom have Warp? for Mechalink already. I know Palom gets it at level 29, but again, I haven't paid close enough attention because personally, I hate doing this check without warp. So my thought is that Mechalink is probably doing this now that they have it.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And he gets it quite a bit later than Quake there. 25? Yeah, 26. Yeah, that Palom doesn't have warp.
Yeah, so needs 3 levels, which I don't think you get from the XP at this spot. So this is quite a I don't want to say a risky check, but a time-consuming one without that warp spell.
Oh, and Mecha getting the good, bad news. There's a tower key here. Certainly have to keep that. We'll see who the boss is and how easy it is to get through.
Yeah, Mechalink definitely just blazing through this seed so far. Very well run to this point. As is SuperNinTaylor, just having one or two more hiccups here and there, but still very close. This is also not the boss you want to see if you're trying to get warp on Palom. This is split XP, and the second form of this boss, the Ruby form here, with how high and crazy hard the magic hits here, this is actually pretty scary. This is one of the ruder spots to find elements if you're not dealing power overwhelming damage.
Yeah, definitely. If we see our quarter leg show up here and he gets to cast a Fire 3, that may be a party wipe.
Yeah, getting this virus out is huge. Might be able to just spill right over into Kainatsu. This Fire 2 is going to do bad things. A Fire 3 is definitely going to be a wipe, so we need this to tip. Yep, this is not good. This is one of the deadliest spots for elements because of how nasty that second form is. It's so brutal.
Looks like we're going to take a second stab at it. If I were Mechalink, I might be thinking to try a Reflect strat instead. That might be a bit slow, but it does not get you into that second form. That might be a way through this fight.
I think actually the best way to do it optimally would be to keep the Zerks going. Go in with Avenger or do the Excal Avenger thing, and I think in single Ice 2 from Palom will actually push phases and get it straight from Ruby right into Kainatsu. I think the Ice 2 will do somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 to 3,500 by itself. You probably take a Fire 2, but very unlikely you take a Fire 3.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We'll see how Mechalink handles it in just a moment here.
Yeah, but that being said, this fight still stinks. Like, that's a best case scenario where everything goes right. Very rarely does that actually happen in fights when you come up with these grandiose ideas of, oh, hey, I'm going to do XYZ thing. Doesn't always happen.
Definitely. And Mecha not healing up here might turn out to be a problem. But taking a little bit of precaution to blink up. And a question from chat, can't you just reflect magic to prevent a phase change at all? You can. I think the one concern about setting up reflect strats here is that Palom really only has virus, or Fire 2 is like the strongest thing to throw out, so it just might be a bit slower. But 3,500 from one Fire 2, I think just a few of those should probably do it.
Yeah, it should be 2 more and the fight will end.
Thankfully, with Palom, actually, this is heads up play. Keeping Palom on that low hit points, Cecil will be able to cover him from Mylan Zed's attacks here. So I think we're going to get through this just fine.
Yeah, and that Cecil having the crystal armor, I believe, also resists undead, which I think elements is still classified, or this form of elements is still classified as undead. So making sure that Cecil's going to take basically 0 damage.
Yeah, it looks like it. He's only taking 1 damage per hit here.
And meanwhile, SuperNinTaylor is through Demist and going to be through Dwarf Castle and getting their reward from that as well. And Mechalink is through Elements. So very well done. Nice adaptation after the Rubicon form was so rude.
Definitely very cleanly done there. So now Mechalink will have to, unfortunately, walk out the long way, but is rewarded with a tower key. We may see him head immediately to the lower Babel Tower, take care of 2 checks there, and 2 boss checks for Leviathan.
Yeah, I think the tower play is definitely going to be the next spot Mecha goes. And there is also the outside shot. If both of those locations pay out with key items, Mechalink will be at 10 key items already in what would probably be about 55 minutes into the seed, which is very fast.
Have we seen Sirens yet? I'm not actually sure.
I don't believe we've seen Sirens, but we've seen Coffins and Bacchus. And to answer a question from chat about taking trap chests in the tower, because you already have an Excalibur and an Avenger, I don't think that there is really much point in taking those trap chests. If Cecil were still rocking like a Poison Axe or a Rune Axe, and there was just nothing better found so far, that would definitely be viable. But with the Excalibur Avenger combo, there's really no reason to poke around with trap chests.
And we see Mecha heading straight to the tower here. Don't blame this at all. 2 checks for bosses, 2 key item checks. You just found that tower key, so you got to chase the chains that you find.
Yeah, and looks like Mechalink also going to be dropping a save here before the super cannon room. If the top of tower does not pay out, Mechalink is prepared to reset back here and run to the tower. I think it's a couple seconds shorter to do this, and you also still get a save up here in the tower. So a heads up by Mecha doing this. This is something I personally always forget to do.
Looks like SuperNinTaylor is thinking about these Feymarch bosses. Kind of eyed down both Val and the Mom Bomb. Yeah, decides, you know what? I'm good.
I would have said that would take a certain level of brazenness that I would not have at those levels to want to deal with either of those bosses.
Looks like we found a free fight here. We've seen the soldiers, right? The Baron soldiers?
Yeah, so these are going to be the guards, which are easily coffinable. And also on the other side was Mylon and friends. We know since we've seen Mylon Z already.
Yeah, we know Mecha has coffin, so this is basically, this is free. You can even get a life glitch off here if you really want. Yeah,
and the life glitch here would end up yielding, I think, 39,030 XP. As opposed to the 26,020 XP normally. So this is a really good place to get XP without Sirens being readily available.
Thank you for knowing that exact number.
When you see it enough, you start memorizing these awkward XP amounts.
I'll have to remind myself of that.
There's a Baron key, so that's a character check. That's 2 more boss checks. That's probably Mecha's next destination after completing this tower.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's Baron, and then, I mean, really, after Baron, we're kind of running out of checks here, aren't we?
Yeah, if this Super Cannon check and the Baron check doesn't pay out, that means it's going to be Feymarch time, which without Sirens, that's a little bit of a dicey proposition. Neither of those fights are fun.
Though it's still possible GPS hit like a little nugget of Rude in a pretty much easy seed so far. And Maga Sisters going down very quickly to a Comet there. This is a spot I'm very happy to see them, truth be told, because there are some locations, like at the Odin spot where we're about to head to, where the Maga Sisters at a high magic attack spot can be extraordinarily rude.
Yeah, one of the places I hate to see the Maga Sisters at is actually the Ogopogo spot, because the physical attack is really high, and also the magic attack is extraordinarily high. And so it's just super rude all over.
Right, and they have quite a bit of health there too.
Yes.
We do thankfully have that runic axe, I believe somebody found. I think it was SuperNinTaylor and the Feymarch. I might be misremembering that, but that they do have the mage weakness type at least, so that's a good way to take care of take care of Cindy. So that rude encounter kind of stops being so rude. But anyways, we'll see what Sid's engineers have for us today.
And looks like the reward is the twin harp. I guess GPS really does have places to be.
This is one of those things, you find it, it's like, oh crap. It's time for music, and it's time for panic, if it were me.
Yeah, it's one of those where you're going to do this music, and you know that it could have, the hook, it could have your other boss, and even if it doesn't pay out, you still have the Baron key that you can go chase after that. So this is definitely the heads up play to make here, to just go take care of this twin harp check immediately.
Like finding some Cure 3s in Troya, pretty nice pickup. Porum notoriously does not get really strong. She'll get Cure 3 pretty soon, but she doesn't really get Cure 4 for quite a long while. And that Yang makes a pretty good chemist, and the Cid. So that's a pretty nice pickup. If we need to face, for instance, any of those rude Feymarch fights.
Yeah, not only that, but those are also characters that are good for 1200 strats. Without sirens available, someone like Mecha, who I know is very familiar with 1200 strats, I learned a lot of 1200 strats from Zilch, Mechalink, and Dia, actually, as the three people primarily that I learned them from by watching them do what they do. So Mechalink knowing all of those different pieces, those are also things that could be weighing in the back of their mind.
Now, 1200 strats, for some of our viewers who may not be too familiar with them, what is that exactly?
So basically it works on the premise that a nerfed Big Bang from Zeromus can never do more than 1200 damage to your party. So as long as you have party members who are over the 1200 HP threshold, or in the case of like a Palom or a Rosa or a Porum with let's say 900 or 1000 and some good gear, you're able to nerf the Big Bangs, keep them alive, get Star Veils up, and just reflect kill Zeromus over and over and over. It's a very slow fight, but a very doable fight. So we'll let y'all ponder that while DJ Spoony B gives you some rockin' tunes.
Mecha getting through that pretty cleanly, and that lovely rendition appears to be from Final Fantasy V. I'm not too familiar with it myself, but it sounded pretty great on harp. Oh, and Mecha getting quite a reward here with that darkness crystal.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what you want to see. It does leave one really big question now, though, for Mechalink. Do you go to Baron, or do you go to the moon?
The question isn't about tacos?
Well, it's not Tuesday yet.
Drat, I thought it was.
I mean, it might be where not necessarily these runners are, but we do have some runners in the community who are living in the future. It might be Tuesday for them already.
Looks like Mecha's running straight to Baron. I don't mind this. Baron's basically on the way. You get through this really quickly, and then you go to the moon. The moon is so much more like wide open. There are a lot more checks, so mathematically it might make more sense. But coming to Baron, if Baron has what you need, you don't even need to go to the moon necessarily, except to get to Z.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if you can avoid a second trip up to the moon, which in this case our runners do not have a pass, so they would have to go to the moon, come back to complete their objective if Leviathan is not up there. For example, if they find the hook, they have to return to Earth, go all the way back up to the moon, run through the lunar subterrane again. So it could be quite the undertaking, just making that run. And meanwhile, SuperNinTaylor is through the elements fight. Very well done on their side, and we got the full experience of elements there.
Yep, going to be rewarded with that tower key now completely in hand, and I believe that Palom... no, getting the bad news. Got to take the Walk of Shame out.
Yeah, we got a double Walk of Shame today from our runners. You hate and or love to see it?
I've certainly rooted for some rude things before, but having to take the long way out, it just feels bad. Meanwhile, Mike has found the dolls here. This will go pretty quickly. One Quake, actually probably even one Virus, I imagine would just take these out. But yeah, just do a Quake, kill the dolls. Really the concern will be who's at the Baron King spot, at the... words are escaping me at the moment. The worst thing to find there would be probably... I don't think we've seen Wyvern yet this seed.
Yeah, Wyvern's always super rude because you usually don't end up saving inside of Baron, you save outside Baron. You run through this, you defeat a boss, then you get a second boss, and it's like, oh hi, it's Wyvern. In this case, oh hi, it's literally a free fight. So, no punishment, no suffering, just easy and free.
But there is some pain involved.
More like a tickle. Mechalink was a little bit early on getting the ouch to script there. But for sure we'll have it this time. The way that the ouch script works is that after the second kick is queued up by Young, or by Karate in this case, Cecil can basically bop the Karate Man, and he will say ouch, and then just kind of disappear. So he could have 40...
Or you could hit so hard that he doesn't even get a chance.
Yeah, there's also that. And there is Fusoya, the superior old man.
I don't mind getting rid of Palom here. Fusoya is basically Palom, but better at this point.
Yeah, it was either Palom or Porum that goes there. Which it's just, runner's choice at that point as to who they want to get rid of. It makes sense to keep the Berserk bot in this case because you have a Cecil, and you're probably leaning a little more towards Zerker strats here.
Yeah, definitely. We didn't find Bacchus wine, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but without the Bacchus wine, really the only concern at Z is going to be getting the Zerkers up kind of as soon as possible, and having 2 Sorks of Zerk will make that just a lot smoother. And Mecha finding an Earth Rock, that's another chain. Do you go there before you go to the moon? That one's a longer check. 2 bosses, but 2 characters that you don't necessarily need at this point. What do you think?
I think I would have peeked a Baron Basement first and then headed to Zot here, but ordering it doesn't particularly matter because the Earth Crystal, when you complete it, is going to drop you back off in Baron anyway. So if you're committing to one, you're probably committing to both, looking for this Leviathan and possibly the hook as well. Earth has had a lot of key items. I mean, the moon is not only potentially haunted, but completely haunted with no key items based on the distribution right now. It's looking very thin.
Apparently, when I'm involved, the moon doesn't have anything on it. That's just kind of becoming my thing. It's happened in a lot of my restreams.
It's the opposite experience I've had on this flag set. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 85% of my seeds have had at least partially required moons. It's like a 1 in 7 chance that I don't have a required moon. So this is a rarity for me to see.
That's a very particular number, and I expect nothing less of you.
I might have done a little bit of data tracking for this flag set so far.
I appreciate that. That's very smart, actually. Gives you good information about how you want to plan your routing for, future tournament events. And a player at your caliber makes a lot of sense to me. Even if I'll tease you for it just a little bit.
Oh, please do. It also doesn't mean a darn thing once you start running these, because rando gonna rando. All the data in the world doesn't do a thing.
Well, it'll still give you information about where your leanings ought to be. But yes, randomness is, of course, still randomness.
And that is not a Leviathan, that is a Baigan. For our runners, a good thing to see on Earth rather than the moon. Baigan on the moon stinks, for lack of a better term. But Baigan on Earth, not nearly as bad.
Well, you know what they say. Cecil go Burr.
That is true. Cecil go Burr and Fusoya go Quake.
Quake Burr?
Yeah, Quake Burr works, because Burr Quake just sounds really weird. Ooh, Vessel go Ver. I like it, Scala. See, this is why you are the artistic one. Because that is very clever.
Oh, that pains me. Well done. Vessel go Ver. Earthquake is the latest treat from Dairy Queen. I love it.
Now, while all of this is going on, I believe SuperNinTaylor is a Twin Harp check and Baron proper behind Mechalink. So closing a lot of the distance, actually, that Mechalink had built up. Only about 2 checks behind now. Granted, they are a little lengthy, but this is the type of gap that, let's say, Earth Crystal here does not have value, and either Baron Basement does or the Moon does. Top down versus bottom up on the Moon could make the difference in this race.
Yeah, it's very easy for SuperNinTaylor to catch up here. Really the only, just a couple checks that went a little bit slower. That Golbez, of course, catching him on the 3rd time that he got through it really amounts to the time that has been lost here. And everyone's favorite free fight showing up not really where you want to see it.
There's not a lot of free stuff left for the Moon, is there?
Nope.
I'm just trying to think what's out there that's easy breezy fights, and I'm not really thinking of too much. Like, there's the obvious things like, Dark Knight Cecil and stuff like that, but even Dark Knight Cecil at the wrong spot, let's say Value Cave, you're looking at 1,300 a wave there. I mean, that's air quotes free.
Again, it's free with conditions. See fine print for details.
Yeah, fine print on that one is everyone dies a horrible, painful death.
It's like when you're excited, you open up a like a fortune cookie or something, and you read the cookie because it's free. You got a cookie for it, and then you read it. It's just like all it says in like really tiny print is "You're gonna die."
I'm happy that I've never gotten a fortune cookie that says you're gonna die. I've gotten some weird ones, but never that.
Yeah, that would be pretty awful. In the meanwhile, we are gonna quiet down here for our second reprise for Twin Heart music.
Yeah, just speaking of awful real quick, the reward from Tower of Zot was a dragon whip and 2 duplicate characters. And SuperNinTaylor getting their Darkness Crystal through Plague, giving us that second rendition of music. Meanwhile, Mechalink has found not quarter leg, but full leg. And this Ruby is, well, being rude. Because that's what Ruby does in spots with high magic.
Also, chat confirming that from Final Fantasy V, that Twin Heart music is Dear Friends. And Ruby going down on Mecha's side, that Punch Mage doing a whole lot of work there with that Ice Claw. We'll see what the reward is.
Well, you keep a pass there. You walk that out for sure.
Not a bad find.
But that does mean that this whole chain, Baron, Zot, Baron Basement, not the answer that our runners are looking for.
Right, and if SuperNinTaylor runs straight to the moon instead, immediately caught up.
Looks like SuperNinTaylor is making a return trip to Kokol. I might be purchasing something from the shop. I didn't see what was in there before. Power shirts are a good thing to go back for.
Meanwhile, we've got Mecha raising the Lunar Whale here. I don't blame this at all. Instead of facing that Fey March, which is still pretty rude, just head straight to the moon. We'll see if top down or bottom up is the play here.
Yeah, I think from a routing perspective, knowing that there's a boss check on the table and knowing that there's 6 boss spots available, we've seen the hook route boss from the top of tower, which was a Mylon. So the king queen spot we don't know. The 2 spots in the giant we don't know. So that means there's a 66% chance, sorry, we're doing math on stream, that Leviathan is somewhere on the moon. So to me, the way that I would route this is to go top down. I would look at Value Cave, look at the pale dim spot, then head straight to the bottom of the moon. And then if I haven't seen Leviathan, start working working from the bottom of the moon, looking for the hook and going back.
Now, in this spot, would you just go on a boss hunt? Like, would you just face check bosses, or would you kill and look for that hook here?
Yeah, I would do the boss face check first, and then when I got to the bottom of the lunar subterrane, that's when I would start clearing the bosses looking for the hook.
I see.
Yeah, I think that's what Mecha is doing here as well. It makes more sense, I think, from a routing perspective, because otherwise you get stuck at the bottom of the moon and you have to make a choice of clearing it out or exiting to then look at these 2 spots you could have done at first anyway. Plus, if Leviathan's here, it is totally free because the magic stat here is garbage. That's Asura, though, if I was able to catch that quickly.
Yes.
And yeah, this is not a free fight. But might be able to go Runax into Avenger.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be very challenging. We have time to blink up. We've got 2 casters with blink. I believe Mecha has a rune axe. You put on the rune axe and then you swap over to the Avenger. You might have to do 1 turn. You can correct me if that's wrong, with the rune axe on to kind of register that you're wearing that. But I don't think this is going to be too challenging.
Yeah, you definitely would have to take an action to get it to function properly. But looks like SuperNinTaylor right on Mechalink's heels now.
Yeah, I love seeing these routes converge like this. SuperNinTaylor was behind about 2 checks, but not going to Baron and not going to Zot like we were talking about earlier has basically caught up. Because if SuperNinTaylor stays on the moon, and I imagine that he will until he finds something of value, unfortunately tried to take that Asura on, like we were saying, it's not free. There is some setup required, and says, nope, I'm out of that. But we'll probably head into the lunar subterrane from here.
Yeah, if nothing else, take a look at who the character is. Maybe check the pale dim spot. Maybe check the shop as well. Look for sirens. But yeah, fading that Baron, fading Zot, those checks that SuperNinTaylor was able to get away from, we know that's the correct path. And this Rosa, do you take a Rosa over a Porum here, knowing what you've invested into Porum already? This is a tough choice for our runners.
About sirens in hand, I don't think I do. Yeah, he says no. Now, we could have checked the shop first, though. Yeah, we could have checked the shop first to see if sirens are actually available here, but yep, SuperNinTaylor just going to run right in. Took a save outside, making me think that he's going to try top down and check the Pale Dim altar first.
Yeah, and chat letting us know that the shop was checked, so that was just something that I missed. Apologies for that.
Yes, we both missed that.
But yeah, looks like SuperNinTaylor doing the face checks, maybe taking some easier bosses. Again, that Asura, it's again another air quotes free type boss where you can do it. It just takes time. This is something where Mechalink is through it. But if this doesn't pay off, at what cost? Because then SuperNinTaylor would actually be in the lead.
Oh, hi.
So that was that's a lunar wyvern, and also Asura giving a Murasame. So that's neither a Leviathan nor the value that Mechalink was looking for. So at this point now, our runners are basically dead even. The single biggest differentiating factor now is going to be the pass that Mechalink has.
Definitely. If I'm Mechalink, the past few checks I've made that have taken a pretty significant amount of time none of them have panned out. I'm starting to feel a little bit behind here.
Yeah, knowing that you've done everything on Earth and you haven't hit your go mode, this is where you go and you take that top-down route, because you expect if your opponent went to the moon early, your opponent would have gone bottom up. Now, in this case, we know that both runners have gone top-down, but you can never know that in the moment.
And SuperNinTaylor really heads up here, says, you know what, I don't want to deal with that Wyvern. I really just need to find Leviathan, heading straight to the bottom of the lunar subterrane.
And interestingly enough, also, Mechalink opting to take Rosa over Porum here.
Could be thinking to... This sort of indicates to me that he wants to take on the fights and get the experience from them instead of just face check bosses. That could be what played in his mind, where Rosa kind of out overpowers Porum pretty easily, because even though we're missing experience, we're still only in like, what, upper 20s, lower 30s in experience at this point.
Yeah, not super high for levels. Well, there's a fun little cupcake of a fight up for the moon. That's everybody's favorite jerk turtle, Kainatsu. I hope this party has the DPS to race this, because there's no level 3 spells on that Palom, which means finishing this fight is going to be really awkward.
This is where you say, I hope a water boss is at the Leviathan spot, and you walk in and the monkey paw curls.
Well, Starveil's up at least on Mechalink's side, so not instantly dead to Wyvern.
No, however, Wyvern at this spot at battle speed 1 is going to be quite fast. Really need to pick up another party member and get that Avenger on, or get a Zerg going immediately. Yeah, Wyvern already casting wall here. There may not be enough time to pick up enough party members to actually go.
Yeah, the super awkward thing at this spot also is you can't run buffer at this location. This is one of the moon spots where you don't get those extra actions in, and you just kind of explode. And Mechalink might be able to sustain this for a little bit, but as soon as there's some bad AI here and Mechalink loses a 50-50 and the life caster gets bopped, this fight's a done deal. So yeah, there's the life caster getting bopped. This is probably the end of the fight here. I'm curious when the last time Mechalink saved was, if he saved before or after picking up that Rosa.
Yeah, it looks like it was before. That feels pretty bad there. We'll see if he goes back, goes to Wyvern Standard Time, or if Mecha just says, you know what, I don't want to deal with that either, and heads straight down. Also had that Rosa in the middle. Taking Rosa might have been a concession to just have a nice clean anchor.
Yeah, that's true, because Rosa does start with 8 agility. The only slightly awkward thing about that is Fusoya being 20 agility is not quite relative agility 1, but is very close. But kind of as we were talking about a little bit earlier about what's left for free bosses, we're kind of seeing what's left for bosses on this moon. We've got Asura at Value Cave, Wyvern at Murasame Altar, and Kainatsu at the Ribbon Room. And there's still 3 more spots to go.
SuperNinTaylor doing very well here, though, to take the wall down. This is not an easy... If you don't know how to do it, it's not very easy to get those Thor Rages off in time before the wave kind of ends up happening, just because of the way queuing works at battle speed at relative agility 1. But at these low levels, you know, a wave at really high health would have been pretty deadly. But I think at this point, we're going to get through this.
Yeah, the other awkward thing at this spot in particular, this is 42,000 base HP here. And with a party in the high 20s, low 30s for levels, you do not have any margin for error. One missed wave nerf and you die. There is zero chance for you to recover. So getting the timing right on the first couple of these is incredibly important because, again, margin of error is zero. Those waves will do 1,000 damage plus and your party will be washed away.
Definitely. And I think that was the last Thor Rage I saw on SuperNinTaylor's side. Now, if he could get a Zerker going, that would help quite a bit to buffer between turns. I'm not quite sure how much health we've knocked out of Kinatsu at this point. It could still be deadly, though we've been here for a good amount of while. Now, the one thing I will say is that he might feel quite bad if this turns up nothing. It is 2 key items. I believe we're in the ribbon room. Mechalink getting the bad news. It's just an Excalibur.
Yeah, nice fight, but you already have one of those, and you don't even have a ninja to dart it. So now here's the scary part for SuperNinTaylor. This wave is likely to go off. So how much damage has been done? Is it enough so that more than just Yang survives this? Porum is almost certainly dead here. Yeah, that's that's not going to work.
Wow. Oh, that hurts.
So yeah, Yang
you
lives,
have to reset.
But yeah, this fight is effectively
There's
done.
no way you're getting out of that. Yeah, and maybe it's honestly good news because if Leviathan is at the Murasame altar or the Masamune, I always mix those up in my brain. If we go lower in the moon and find Leviathan, then that's entirely unnecessary anyways. Oh, and there's also the White Spear altar too. Good chat pointing that out.
Yeah.
We see SuperNinTaylor headed straight there.
I mean, this is a more doable fight. This is still going to be super punchy, still going to be rude, but this fight can be slowed down. Octomam every 3 hits loses a tentacle and loses agility as well. One thing SuperNinTaylor does need to do at some point is get that Yang back in the front row, because Yang in the back row is not really going to contribute a ton, unfortunately. So really dampening the attack that he can contribute with.
I have a very important question for you, Possum.
Go for it.
Are you a fan of calamari?
Not when it's punching me in the face.
What does your calamari... I should have expected that answer, but I didn't.
Look, when places advertise fresh seafood, you never know what level of fresh you're going to get.
This is a little too fresh, isn't it?
It really is.
To answer my own question, I find calamari to often be kind of flavorless, but if it's done like really well, I think it's pretty good.
I actually agree with that. I used to have a restaurant I would always go to that served calamari and also alligator. It was kind of a specialty restaurant in the town I went to college in. It was my favorite, actually.
Oh, alligator! What does that taste like?
I'm just gonna say chicken because that's the obvious answer.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take it. Mecha finding this Kinatsu here, also kind of getting the bad news. A little bit. I think this is going to be quite a bit easier though, because given the time that Fu has been charging here, I imagine that's either a Lit 3 or an Ice 3 being cast at Kinatsu. We'll get through this a lot faster.
Yeah, that Fusoya from Baron will pay dividends in this fight as well. Whether it be a Lit 3, a nuke, whatever it is that Fusoya has queued up will do considerable damage. Also, these extra levels means that only Rosa is going to go down here to even a fully powered wave. So Mechalink is in far, far better shape here than SuperNinTaylor.
Definitely, yeah. And chat pointing out that we've got a Zerka going already. That's good for your queuing. And Yang with the Ice Claws also doing quite a bit of work here.
Yeah, and I mean, we see the difference that Sid took 330 damage, whereas we see SuperNinTaylor's party, multiple members taking 10, 12, 1500, damage here. So lots of differences just simply because of the levels.
Definitely, because of the levels, and it might be a bit of the experience level too. I will say that this randomizer it really rewards knowledge, and it really rewards kind of how often you play and how much you know about it. And I could see that there might be possibly a small difference in kind of like how much knowledge is stored up between the two runners, making some of the checks easier or harder depending on kind of what you know already in this game. There's always something to know, there's always something to learn. And SuperNinTaylor finding a white shirt, it's nice. Oren's gonna wear it. Not what you wanted though.
Honestly, I think a white shirt is worth like what, 7.8, 7.9 sirens if we could find them. Yeah, it's a shirt.
It's white. That's all we can say about it.
Yeah. And Mechalink threw that Kainatsu. So this is kind of a very big moment in this seed. Is if the hook is behind here, well, there's a rat tail, but no hook. So that would have been pretty much a death sentence for SuperNinTaylor there, had that been the hook and this not been exactly Leviathan. So
what was SuperNinTaylor, I missed it.
A Dragoon helmet, I believe, was the other item. And this is Pale Dim, so that means that Leviathan is either at the King Queen Eblin spot or in the Giant, if we're not missing any other bosses.
This is not the boss you wanted to see here, though. Thankfully, with our Zerkers going, this isn't really going to be too bad. We've also got Virus or Quake here. Spot is a bit punchy, but I don't think this is going to be too challenging. It might be a bit slow at the levels we're at, if nothing else, because there is quite a bit, like 40,000 hit points here, I believe.
I think it's 37,000, somewhere right around there. It's a lot, and this fight is just naturally super slow anyway.
Right, and Yang being in the back row, unfortunately not helping SuperNinTaylor here out at all.
Yeah, unfortunately, this fight is slow no matter how you take it. There is no point in which this fight goes quickly, especially without the Fusoya and being able to drop the nukes on Pale Dim.
Also, I really appreciate that our conversation has spurred a chat here about Alligator. Very interesting. Love to see it.
It's a topic of conversation that doesn't normally come up, so it's something that folks really get to chime in on, where you might not otherwise think that your opinion's ever relevant on it, but it is.
We bring you everything here with Free Enterprise. We even talk about food.
Yeah.
Now I'm just hungry.
Right. Palom casually taking 1,837 damage points to the face. That's an unpleasant amount for a small child.
Only a flesh wound. Or 'tis only a flesh wound. My delivery was not correct there.
It's still a good reference.
Mechalink gonna go through his Pale Dim fight also here. I imagine we'll get through it quite a bit faster. We have more levels and we have Fu.
Yeah. Nuke is a thing.
Duke go Burr. Basically, this entire party go Burr, except Sid, who goes Burr with Cure 3 potions? Sure.
Yeah, Sid actually is the best chemist on the team. To answer a question from chat, what is an anchor? Solaris, do you want this one, or you want me to go for it?
I'll go ahead and try giving it a go. So an anchor in this game, the speed stat, the way the ATB system works in this game, this is an early Super Nintendo game. Memory was very limited for what you could program in, and one of the shortcuts that the programmers made was to make sort of how fast the ticks of the ATB go is relative to the speed of Cecil in the vanilla game, or with the character in the middle slot. So everybody's speed is sort of bound to that center character. What it ends up being in practice is that if you have a slow character who is in your middle slot, fast bosses will become slower. And if you have a fast character in the middle slot, then very slow bosses will become faster. I'm saying that backwards. Basically, you want, especially at this point in the seed, you want a slow agility anchor. So having Rosa at base levels only has 8 agility will kind of make everybody be relative to her. And then also it makes your turn order a lot more consistent, kind of depending on the speed of the boss and the speed of your characters relative to that anchor, so that you always know that, you know, your top character and then your bottom character, then the middle, top, middle, bottom will go. The consistency matters a lot also when you plan out certain turns. And whatever I might have missed there, I'll let you kind of explain the rest.
Yeah, the way that I just like to explain anchoring is the slower the character you have is in the middle, the faster the rest of your party goes along with the bosses. And the faster your party member is in the middle, the slower the rest of your party members are going to be compared to bosses in most cases. Once it gets to the end game. Early on in the game, you want a super fast anchor because early bosses are slow.
Yeah, especially the 2 bosses on Mount Ordeals and at the Baron, and especially they're very, very slow spots. So
Yeah.
having a fast anchor makes that boss move. You know, you might get like 3 or 4 actions before they even do anything.
Ooh, a free fight at the Crystal Sword Altar. One last life glitch for Mechalink, going to have all the HP on their melee fighters, even life glitching one of the soldiers there, because honestly, why not at this point?
Yeah, it's a great infusion of experience. No grind necessary.
Yeah, it's an extra 210,000 there. And there is go mode all along behind the only free fight left.
As it happens to me every seed, it's always the last place you check.
It just kind of feels bad because that was the one free fight on the moon.
Well, with that in hand, Mecha immediately heading back to Earth, gonna go pick up that hovercraft and see what the Pinktail has for us. We could still find a crystal sword. That's about the only thing I think we could find, or maybe Zeus gauntlets that could improve this party's when it's already quite strong. And then with that pass in hand, we're ready to rock and roll here.
I think an Artemis bow to go with those samurai arrows from the Ogopogo spot would actually be an upgrade for Sid. So Artemis bow is on the table as well.
I'm not sure I Zerk Sid up since he is such a good chemist in that fight, but it'll definitely let him contribute damage. And also I could just be wrong there.
Well, I know that a white shirt was available from the plague spot, so that means that Fu has a white shirt plus probably almost 2100 health right now. should be able to survive on Nerf Big Bangs. There's, what, a third Excalibur?
It's like you asked for a crystal sword and the monkey paw just, says, you know what? What you really wanted was this Excalibur.
Well, and there's a spoon.
Just validating our almost 17 out of 17. Where was the brain farting? Where was the sand ruby?
We don't know. It has to be
Feymarch. It's
Feymarch.
Feymarch, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that Tella, not going to be much use. Also, I like that Mechalink just decided to bring the hoverboat down and just leave it outside of Troya. I honestly didn't either, because I never would have thought to try it.
Does it go on the water down here? Sorry, the lava?
I have no idea.
Line. I know what I'm testing after this.
I was unaware that you could bring the hoverboat down here, so A+ to Mechalink on that.
We just need to heat test it, see if it can handle the underground environment.
And according to chat, it doesn't work on the lava. So I think we need to petition to have a board add in the function where you can use the hovercraft on the lava.
Which would do literally nothing, by the way.
No, it would do nothing, but that's fine. There's a lot of stuff in this that does nothing that's still enjoyable.
Meanwhile,
for example,
Z-flags.
Yeah, I was going to say these Z flags in chat, they don't actually do anything, but they're still super enjoyable because I like naps, and I think it's about time for one.
Oh, it's nap time. That's right. Okay. Well, good night.
Yeah. Have a good night, y'all.
Okay, no, but seriously, of course, as many of us know here, it's Zeromus time. Our Z flag, that's what he stands for. Zeromus, we don't randomize his location. A Big Bang at the Baron Inn would be not something anyone wants to deal with. So instead, we have randomized his sprite. There are, I believe, 526, which is an incredible number of sprites available that Zeromus can be. And with that said, the only question left is whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
I'm always hoping for Hahahamas, personally. Any favorites of yours, Solaris?
I have been wanting FF4FE since I first saw it. It was my very first seed. I call it out every time in chat. I won't spoil what it is. But it's very amusing.
I see hopes in chat for Clippymas, Table Flippymas, Redactedmas, Moonmas, Sumarez, Job Dwarfmas, Ultrasmas, but it looks like we're just going to get Xenomus.
Manifestly not cute.
I know that we have some members of chat who are really going to like this, though.
I don't think I've seen this one before. That's a great rendition of the alien.
Yeah, it's a very clean sprite, albeit very not cute, still very clean.
So we see those Zerker strats in play. Cecil's wearing the Avenger. Yang just used a Bacchus. We got our nerf of the Big Bang off, very helpfully taking out our anchor, who isn't really going to contribute much in this fight anymore. Anyways, Zerkers go burr.
Yeah, this is the kind of hands-off approach to Zeromus fighting, where you just kind of let everyone get drunk, get angry, hit things. In this case, it's only Zeromus. But that's kind of how this fight plays out. You have Cecil doing 4,300 damage, Sid doing shockingly high amounts of damage, almost 3,000 there. This might be enough damage to not see a second Big Bang. Even if a second Big Bang is seen, though, with these health totals, it's completely irrelevant. This is one of the nice things about having Cecil, Yang, Sid, etc. as your Zerkers. They can live through a Big Bang into a Meteo and just kind of walk it off.
It's certainly going to be easier for Mecha than SuperNinTaylor's party. I love my mages, but one of the problems with them is having to deal with the Big Bangs. But like you said here, we saw the Shake. We've probably gotten into the HP refill yet. I just don't know if that was before or after the Shake here. But if another Big Bang comes out with that white shirt, I don't think there's going to be any problems even losing Fusoya. And then after that, it's basically free.
Yeah, it's unlikely Fu takes a dive here. Yeah, it was under 1,400. Yeah.
It's like practically nerfed, even though it's not.
Yeah, this fight is 100% in the bag for Mechalink. There's rocks. Everyone's going to survive but Rosa. There's the Shake, there's the crack. No flash, because flash effects are off, but there is our winner of tonight's race, moving to 2-1 with an official time of 1:42.55. GG's to Mechalink.
GG's to Mechalink. We'll see if he is available for an interview shortly. In the meanwhile, SuperNinTaylor is still doing these moon checks. Some of these bosses are really quite rude. As soon as he goes to the Crystal Altar and deals with the free fight that he'll find there, he will also be in go mode and get to his Z fight.
He has actually already gotten the hook, turned into Pinktail, and is on his way to Zeromus.
That's how laser focused I've been on on Mecha at the moment. And it looks like we're joined here by Mecha. GG's, Mecha.
Thank you. Yeah.
So Adventures on the Moon. How did you like all the bosses up there?
Fine. We had Fu, we had Excalibur Cecil, we had Crystal Armor Cecil. Sid didn't take any damage since basically the beginning of the seed. There's just nothing stood in our way at that point. They weren't free bosses, but it just didn't matter.
Yeah, you ran a very clean race for a 16 out of 17 in that time span with as much as you went through. It was very well done.
Thanks.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Some of those bosses can be quite rude if you're not quite sure how to handle them, and I think you handled them very cleanly. Now, I do have one question. The sealed cave, when you ran to it when you did, what was on your mind at that moment? Why the sealed cave at that point?
So the options were Sealed Cave, Keyless Tower, and a Feymarch that wasn't really going to work without more levels. Sealed Cave provides a straightforward key item and boss check that are easily reset out of if they're nothing. And we were still looking for a boss and numerous key items. Additionally, the main problem with that boss is magic power and speed. Right? So there are a number of very beatable bosses there. And it so happened that, that was the case. I don't even remember what boss it was. I remember wiping through it once, but went back in with a reconfiguration and put them in the dirt.
Yeah, it was the elements.
That's right, elements
to a fire 3.
Yeah, we tried
with reflect strats.
Yeah, we tried to push through, didn't work. Went with reflect strats. Yeah, didn't even need fire 2 was enough. Yeah. So that was essentially it. There was no everybody loves doing keyless tower, but realistically, doing keyed Luca isn't really slower, like in terms of a walk, and is easier to reset out of. You get all the information. You get the information in the right order, right? Like if you go to the top of the tower, you have to fight the boss, and then you find out about the key item. Whereas with Luca Cave, you get the key item, and then you get to see the boss. So the information comes in a little better order, and then it happened to be Tower Key making the play even better, right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It worked out pretty well for you there. Our only concern that we were talking about while you were doing it was that Palom is in your party and could have had warp, but wasn't quite at the right level for it. But I think it worked out well in your favor anyway.
No, I'm not. I mean, I realized when I was walking in that warp wasn't on MP. It was only 26. Because of in Zima's Zone, we all know that warp is 29. So it wasn't happening. But yeah, like I said, it's basically the same speed as top of tower, except that the checks are in the right order and more easily reset out of. And if the boss didn't have no experience because they were elements, he might have gotten warp as well. Right, like that. I don't know what the math is on there, but like there was probably a shot that he gets warp there with the full XP of the spot. I have to do the math on it.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure myself either, but yeah, that makes sense.
So, Mecha, once you had cleared out the entirety of Earth, we noticed that you decided to go top down instead of going bottom up. Was that because you may have felt behind, or is that kind of a normal thing for you to do, top down routing instead?
One key item go mode. It is being top down. One key item go with top down has a little better payoff in terms of it's with when you need possibly multiple key items and more checks. Going bottom up is clearly faster, but when all you need is one check to pay off, the upper checks are faster to pull off, right? So it's just a matter of we're literally need to see Leviathan or Hook, and we're done. And so it's just do the bosses in the order that gives me the fastest, key items in hand. And then down. I don't like doing Wyvern first when I have 10 key items because the experience is all at the bottom. That's kind of how I ran with. That's why I kind of ran with the normal bottom ending at Wyvern, which happened to be the one place that I needed to be.
Makes sense, definitely.
I'm glad I got that. There was a little bit. This race started a little late, so I was messing around in test. I tried to take the hovercraft underground and found that out, so got to surprise everybody with that.
We were talking about that. Neither of us realized that you could do that. A number of people in chat were had their minds blown as well. That was well done.
Yeah, I just discovered that today as well. I was like, well, let's see what happens. Like, does it? Because we can't set down because we have the hovercraft. We can't put the hovercraft there. That's silly, right? So what happens over that spot, right? Because the two normal actions that you would expect don't work. And the answer is you go underground. The hovercraft disappears while you're doing underground. It doesn't get thrown into the mode 7 brightness or whatever for semi-obvious reasons, but it comes back once you're in flying mode again. And yeah, it doesn't work on the lava. It doesn't. The trigger that causes the dwarf tanks to fight the Babel tower, it doesn't work there either. Like those squares are impassable for the hovercraft. Mm-hmm.
Interesting stuff.
And on top of the Orange Mountains, the hovercraft can't go there either. You can't put it down there. Weird stuff. Just meh.
Sounds like more duct tape and rubber band stuff holding the game together.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the coding worked there. But yeah. And then, I stuck with the Earth items because Earth items are higher probability than Moon items in general. In addition, there was a possibility that if NinTaylor didn't do Luca first, right? Like, or if he went back to Feymarch, right? Like, I if he didn't do Luca first, I wanted to cover the Baron path, right? Rather than see the Baron path to him from the top of tower and possibly get, serve some delicious ranch dressing. And so that's kind of why I ended up doing a lot of Earth, and it so happens that, Earth was reasonably well in terms of payoffs, but you had to go to the moon, or the giant or King Queen to get one of the last objectives. So
yeah, you were actually ahead for quite a bit until the Baron and Zot checks didn't work out. SuperNinTaylor did not do those checks.
I noticed from his key item
you got from those. Yeah, I think the experience you got from those was pretty big because he had a much harder time on the moon than you did.
And I saw that when he got his hook, I snuck in without being logged in because you don't want to be logged in. That spoils the race. So I was watching and saw that he when he exited out, he didn't have the 6th spell on Cecil, right? So I realized he was way lower level than I was. Right. Now, when I cleared Zot, right, like my mind was already going to, like, we could have done 1200 strats at that point, right? Like if that had just been the hook, right? Like, so my mind was
wipe for SuperNinTaylor here. Sorry, it's kind of a moment.
No, that's
really
fine.
Rough Z fight here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, going with Cecil before he even gets healed, right? Like, that's the Cecil in the 30s. Did he grind any somehow on the moon further?
Nope. Neither one of y'all found sirens, so we assume they're in Eblin or not at all. Yep. And you had Fusoya as well for the moon, where he did not,
right?
Because he didn't do Baron. So Fusoya let you keep your other party members alive, whereas he was struggling to keep all his party members alive throughout the entirety of the moon.
Right, Porum not getting Cure 4 until extremely late is a big problem. No, that makes sense. But yeah. But you can continue.
I was going to say, but you put on a heck of a show. For those of us like myself who are at 2 and 1, just going to add you to the list of people that I don't want to see come up on the pairings list. That's a high quality do not want right there. But anything that you would like to add, going forward about the tournament, anyone you want to call out, any beefs that need to be settled.
Beefs that need to be settled. I mean, technically you're allowed to be repaired in the Swiss, so rematches are live. So I'm not saying that there's anybody I'd like to have a rematch against, but I do have one loss.
Makes sense. Always like a shot at getting vengeance.
I'm trying to think about the seed otherwise. The gauntlet at Antlion, having exactly enough items to throw to get through with all AoEs, having a Stardust on hand there were just a lot of places where I feel that I was really on top of kind of using all of my resources. I did hit the inventory boss once, twice, but you didn't really see it. It wouldn't let me take the Avenger off because there were 2 Excaliburs in the same spot, and that was an inventory fill situation. So when I tried to take it off, I was like, no, you can't, because we can't move the Avenger into your inventory. So I hit the inventory boss twice. That's one of the things I'm trying to work on a lot better is inventory boss stuff. But I feel other than that like you said, like I feel like I used all of my tools and got through a lot of fights very efficiently. There weren't really any fights that I felt bad about how I got through them, except for the wipes, right? So yeah, no, I feel really good about it.
Yeah, you should. It was a really very well run race.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this is the last race of the week, so week 4 upcoming, everybody. Week 4 is when the first people can start locking their place in the bracket stage, among other things. So be hyped for that. We're gonna know who's some of the people who are in our brackets, this week.
Yeah, some big names going to be in there. Some surprises going to be in there as well.
Yeah.
We've had some amazing performances from established runners and new runners alike. So it's an exciting time to be part of this community. But yeah, Mecca, it was a pleasure to watch your race this evening. You did a phenomenal job. Keep doing what you're doing. As long as it's not against me. Again, don't want that in my life.
You can't dodge everybody.
You can try.
You can try. I guess you can always hope for the bye.
But anything else that you would like to add this evening before we let you go and get some well-deserved rest after that heck of a run?
Trying to think if there's anything else that was kind of interesting seed-wise. Oh, Eddie did good work this seed, making that Golbez a 1 fighter for sure instead of a possible 2 fighter. Eddie did good work. I like to slag on Eddie a lot, but I gotta say, having him come out of hide there against the Golbez on the mountain, could have saved me a wipe if the board face AI had gone differently. So I have to give my props to Eddie for doing what he does sometimes.
It makes sense.
All right. Also, where's my crystal sword? 3 Excalibur is not a crystal sword game.
There's no crystal.
3 Excalibur is not a crystal sword game. Just so you know.
We need
to dart them.
Yeah.
We need a special pawn shop, a tier 8 shop, something like that, where you can turn in a certain number of tier 7 items to get another tier 7 item. Then you could trade all those Excals for a crystal sword.
Yeah, I mean, I took Cecil with only the Avenger, being like, well, Avenger's good enough, right? And then, right, like the Coco shot was finished off at Ordeals, and I was like, okay, well, we're Excalibur Avenger, and maybe something better, and never something better. So that was funny.
Also, wow, that is on SuperNinTaylor's side. A Cecil just took a big bang for 25.92.
Wow,
Yikes.
that has to have been one of the right. Like there are small big bangs and big bangs aside from nerfing. That must have been a big bang.
That was a very big bang.
Yeah. Okay, because sometimes the bases are different, and so yeah. But aside from the nerfs, it's not usually relevant because the damage is so high. It's not like it doesn't matter if it's 2400 or 2700 max, but yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us here in the booth, Mecca. GG's, and good luck to you next week.
Thank you.
And it looks like SuperNinTaylor has taken a forfeit here. I don't blame him at all. That is a real rough fight to try to do without Cure 4 or him at those levels. Pretty tough. We'll see if he wants to do an interview or not. Just a moment. But definitely well fought to him, and GG's for sure. It looks like we're going to be joined here by SuperNinTaylor. GG's, SuperNinTaylor. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Thank you.
So, that was a seed, huh?
Yeah, that was rough. There was a lot of boss fights there I struggled with. A lot of tough spots.
Yeah, starting pretty early with that Golbez. Walk me through how you were feeling about that fight.
A little bit frustrated. So I know I made 2 little piggies, but then he took them all down. I was like, okay, let's go with 3 piggies this time. And scraped by that time.
Yeah, 3rd time's the charm. Definitely lost the coin flip twice there. Pretty, I'd be frustrated too. Don't blame you at all. The moon, that was certainly a place also.
Yeah, it was kind of a gamble. I don't know. I felt like I was behind after all those deaths, so I was like, maybe if I skip a bunch of the other checks, like the Baron checks, just completely skip the Fey March, I was like, maybe I'll find what I need on the moon. I was also hoping, because I couldn't find any Sirens, that I would find some somewhat easy bosses on there to get my levels up. But still more pain in the butt bosses.
Yeah, certainly some rude ones. It actually put you, though, you were a bit behind Mecha, only by like a check, maybe a check and a half, but Mecha went to Baron and then did Zot, and you didn't, which actually caught you up. The one thing I think, though, that really was in Mecha's favor there was that the experience he got from the 10 key items and finding Fusoya at Baron really kind of let his team, it really let him unleash his team more efficiently on the moon. But it was very well played by you. It was very close, kind of an unfortunate way, certainly not the result that you were looking for, I'm sure, but GG's to you, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, I came to race. I'm either going to win or lose, and either way, like, I just wanted to race and have fun. I prefer to win, of course, but I still enjoyed it. I learn with every race I do. I remember writing that somewhere before, but I think I actually learn something different each time I play, which is good.
Yeah.
It makes me continue to enjoy the game, because it feels like I'm growing each time I play.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. I was saying earlier about this game really rewards depth of knowledge, and the more you learn about it, there's always something to learn about every boss, the routing, like everything about this game. It's very deep, surprisingly so, and that keeps me into myself. It keeps my interest because there's always something to learn. So I really appreciate that. I definitely agree.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if I should have taken Rosa there. I didn't realize, like, even after all those 10 key item boss fights, that I still couldn't get Cure 4 on Forum. Like, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, Porum unfortunately doesn't get Cure 4 until level 48, whereas Rosa gets it like level 38 or something like that. It's ridiculous as far as the difference between the two.
Yeah.
But bigger than that was just your party composition was great for about 95% of seeds. It was just the moon in this particular seed was very rude for your party comp. So that was kind of a stroke of bad luck there, which is unfortunate because you played a great seed. You kind of got the raw end of the luck spectrum, both with some board AI as well as, some of the bosses that really didn't do your party comp a lot of favors. But again, I know you've been grinding. I've seen you in a lot of asyncs and other things, and it shows. You ran a heck of a race.
I think my favorite fight was actually that last Kainazo fight, however you pronounce his name. It felt like I finally had everything like perfectly timed with my Thor rages and all that stuff. It kicked my butt a couple times, and I had his number the third time.
Yeah, that is not an easy fight at all with that hit point value, able to just wipe your party out in one single wave. The only thing I think I would add as a point of, I guess I'll say learning, is that if you set up a Zerker in that fight, it makes it so that you don't have to, like, you get an action and then you have to throw a Thor Rage if you don't have a Zerker at battle speed 1. That's just kind of how the speed plays out at relative agility 1. So if you have a Zerker, it gives you a lot of breathing room. But otherwise, yeah, I think you handled that fight super well.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened with the Z fight. I tried nerfing a couple times, it failed both times, so I don't understand the timing on that.
Yeah, it's a little awkward because Z will shake, and then his script is he'll wait, and then he'll set the magic attack value, and then he'll cast a big bang. So you can't do it immediately. The two ways I've seen is like on battle speed 3, you can kind of wait for him to shake and then go in and out of your inventory twice.
Right.
And then throw something. Or I think I've also seen, like, if you have a Zerker that queues up an attack, so Z shakes, you let a Zerker attack because that's one tick of the ATB, and then you throw an item. And I think it also works there. Possum could correct me, I could be very wrong here, but I think those are two tricks that I know of that could help time that better.
Yeah, so much of it is dependent on your agility situation as well, though.
Yeah, of course.
And I think your Cecil was probably at about maybe 29 or 30 agility based on his HP.
Yeah, he was 29.
Yeah, so that's still a very good number, agility-wise for a Zeromus fight. it's hard to explain the timing without actually sitting down and doing it, because you really get a feel for it the more you do it.
Yeah, well, it's actually helpful hearing the whole chain of he shakes and there's a wait thing and then he sets the magic. So I know that I was doing it too early. I had to wait a little bit.
Yeah, there's a resource. I'll look it up because I can't think of it off the top of my head now. I'll look it up and share it after this race, but you can see the script for all of the bosses in this game. And you can see in his script how he times all the actions that you take. Seeing that is what helped me realize that you have to wait a moment before you can nerf the Big Bang. So yeah, I'll share that after this race.
Oh, I have another question. Was I getting extremely bad luck, or is there a reason why the Assassin Dagger wasn't working on those Dark Imps? Because I did the Dark Imp fight. It's the first fight in the Dwarf Castle, and I put the Assassin Dagger on Cecil, however you want to pronounce it. And I used Berserk on him, so he died eventually. And I was like, okay, maybe it's Berserk. So I tried it without Berserk, and it still wasn't working. So I don't know if it was bad luck or if it just doesn't work.
There's some weird timing with that. At Relative Agility 1, you try to wait for the enemy to take an action, and then you swing immediately. That doesn't always work for me, though.
Yeah, the way it works or doesn't work is at Relative Agility 1, it usually won't work at all. But if you are at any other Relative Agility, as long as your wielder of the Assassin Dagger trying to get the swoon proc takes an action and none of the Dark Imps have a chance to get back into the queue for the ATB, it should proc. That's air quotes should, because even when it's perfectly timed, it doesn't always 100% fire. Yeah. It's kind of weird. So generally speaking, you want to be not Relative Agility 1 for that, and you want to be making sure you're waiting till the last possible acting imp in that case, and then attacking that imp. It's weird though.
Got it. I didn't even know that. I learned something new today.
That Demas fight felt bad too. I was like, I'm gonna throw on the Avenger. He should be done soon, and then missed phase. That was fun times.
Yeah, Demas is tricky like that, but you got through it. You got through basically everything in this seed. Eventually, some things may have taken a little bit longer than you may have wanted, but you still did a very admirable job of getting through everything. And that's something to still hold your head up high about.
Yeah, I think through all this practice, I've learned how to get through everything. I think now it's just learning like the optimal ways to do it and how to do it quickly and all that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Same for many of us. Same for me. Certainly myself. I'm 2-1 in this race currently, but looking back at my own races, I have really a lot to learn. So, yeah. Well, GG's. Anything else you wanted to add before we kind of kick off the stream?
Not really.
Let's finish.
Sorry for the delay earlier. I had things happen here.
Oh yeah, no, of course. We're just glad you were able to race. So for anyone who doesn't know, SuperNinTaylor had a power outage, so there was just a slight delay. But yeah, I'm glad that you're able to get power back. I've had power be gone for 8 hours, so I'm glad we were able to do this.
Yeah, I was sitting in the shower and everything went completely dark. I was like, this is inconvenient. Yeah, all the power was out, and I was like, oh no, great timing, right before my race. Yeah, it didn't take too long for it to come back up, thankfully. But yeah, anyway, I've been having fun. I look forward to the next week and continuing in the tournament. I think I have to go pretty much undefeated now to make it to the next stage, or maybe I'm already out. I'm not sure.
You're not out yet. You're in the 1 and 2 bracket now. If you have 3 losses, you'll be mathematically out of it. So you are still in it.
Wait, 3 losses? Oh, you said out of it, right?
Well, you'll be mathematically out of being able to make brackets. You'll still be able to play tournament matches, but you would be out of contention. But you're not at that point yet.
Yeah. No, I'll just win 3 in a row. It's pretty easy. So.
That's a good attitude to have. Confidence is key.
That was my strategy. I want to bring myself down to the bottom so I have an easier matches to get to the bracket. Easier last 3 games. No, I think there's challenges in every single bracket. There's a lot of good players. Doesn't matter what the score is. Yeah, I look forward to the rest of the tournament.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for letting us watch you do what you do, SuperNinTaylor. It was a pleasure. I hope you have a great night and there are no future power issues. GG again to SuperNinTaylor, our second place finisher this evening. GG to Mechalink, who was our first place finisher this evening. And that is going to wrap up our broadcast this evening for this final match of Swiss Round 3 for the Lali-Ho League. And yeah, it's been a pleasure, Solaris. I do want to make sure that everyone gets the follows they deserve out of this, so please make sure you give Mechalink and SuperNinTaylor a follow. Please make sure that you give our tracker, Escorian, a follow. Please make sure you give Gundam Pilot Spaz a follow as well. Everyone doing great work, from our runners to all the behind-the-scenes folks.
Of course, if you don't already, please follow Possum Morpheus. He is a great comms partner to have and also puts on a pretty good stream. Definitely a good person to follow there. And before we let y'all go, speaking of round 3 being over, I do want to let everyone know that week 4 matchups will be up shortly. This was the final race for this week, so admins can kind of, do their magic and get all the week 4 matches out so we can figure out, who your next opponent is going to be. So look forward to that very soon. And in the meanwhile, we will be rating the Satellite 42, who. So two things, chat. One, no spoilers, please. And also for new runner, just remember to be kind. Be kind, be welcoming, let them know what a wonderful community that we have. And with that out of the way, this is Solaris, joined by Possum, and we wish you good tidings and good night.
Absolutely. Stay healthy. Stay blessed, y'all. Take care. It's been a pleasure, Solaris. I hope we can do it again soon. And good luck to everyone in your future matches.
Definitely. Bye.